So still working on P165A from page 721. I'm going to now move on to the investing activities section of the cash flow statement. This section is usually much shorter, but a little bit more difficult to think of what you need to do. So remember in the operating section, we looked at non-cash items and then changes in current assets and current liabilities. In the investing activities section, we're going to focus on cash flows related to long-term assets. So there's two long-term assets on the balance sheets that we're given. One is land and one is equipment. Let's start with land. We already started to deal with this in the operating section, but we were told that land with a cost of $50,000 was sold at a loss for $20,000. We now need to figure out how much cash was generated from the sale of that land. And to do that, it's helpful to put together, to try to piece together the transaction from when the land was sold. So we know that cash was generated. We know there was a loss and we were given the amount of the loss. And we know that we would have credited land and we know the initial cost of that land was $50,000. So that would be our journal entry for selling land at a loss. And so I hope it's obvious now that to make this journal entry balance, the cash proceeds from the sale of the land must have been $30,000. So I'm going to go back to my investing activities and I'm going to say add proceeds from sale of land of $30,000. And I want to take one more look at the land account just to make sure that if I were to post this credit of $50,000 to the land account, does that fully explain the difference in the land account? And no, it doesn't, because this looks like $75,000 minus $50,000. It should, if this $50,000 credit was the only thing that happened in the land account, the balance should be $25,000 debit, not $125,000 debit. And so obviously the account has also increased during the period. The only way that can happen is if we purchase land. And we are told in the question, purchase land with a cost of $100,000, and $100,000 is the number that makes this account balance, because 75,000 plus 100,000 minus 50,000 equals 125,000. So a normal situation would now be I would go back to my cash flow statement and say less cash purchase of land. But we're told in the additional information that the purchase wasn't all for cash. There was a down payment of $50,000 and the rest was a mortgage. So I'm going to say less down payment on new land, $55,000. And so I've now dealt with everything that changed in the land account over the year. Now I need to look at the equipment account. We were already told that no assets were disposed of. We dealt with that in the operating section when we needed to calculate depreciation expense. So we know that we didn't sell any equipment. And so the whole change in this account must be the result of purchasing equipment for $135,000, and we're not given any more information about that, and so we have to assume it was for cash, and that would be a cash outflow less purchase of equipment of $135,000. And so I now know everything that happened on both sides of my land account, on both sides of my equipment account. Those are my only two long-term assets. So I'm going to add them up. And I get a negative number here. And so this isn't cash generated by investing activities, it's cash used for investing activities. That's actually why, just the way I summed that is why I think it's really important to show the things that you're going to subtract in brackets and have them show up as negative numbers, so that when I go to calculate cash used for investing activities, or up here cash generated by operating activities, I don't have to go cell by cell, this minus this minus this, or this plus this, this plus this minus this minus this plus this minus this plus this. I can just do a sum of the whole column in both cases because I'm showing the numbers that I want subtracted as negative numbers. So I told you that was shorter, and now I'm going to pause the video again and then go on to the financing activities.